Okay, so since the stream doesn't seem to be working properly, I'm going to record. So, and as I'm recording, oh dear, that's a bad sign. It's telling me I've only been streaming for 20 seconds, and I know I've been going for a good 2 minutes. Okay, well, I'm recording now, so. Oh, sorry, I was looking at the red dot telling me where how long I've been recording, as opposed to the blue-ish dot, well, blue dot-ish thing. Um, it looks like I'm stable-ish. I guess if I leave the recording going, it works. Weird, but I'll take it. Okay, so I do have quite a lot of response today. We're going to do some fandom stuff first, though. So let me open all of those, and I'll close that. The serious response stuff I'll save for tomorrow, or over the course of the week. I do have a tab open there. Okay, we will now, let's see, okay, let's do it this way, where I turn off the Avast browser for a moment, because it's not actually browsing at the moment anyway. I will copy that link, go back to the, oh, okay, I can close that. I no longer need that open. And we will try that. Okay. You'll have to forgive me, I'm just figuring out some of the features of my two browsers here at the moment. So I've got 5 stories we'll take a quick look at before we get to gaming, which is just as well I'm recording for that because I actually will post that as well. And there we go. Now I should be able to close these safely, I hope. Okay, I am recording, so if the stream is not stable, come on back in a couple hours and it should be. I see I have 3 people watching. Why is this not playing now? Let me hit refresh and see if it's live. Live? Where it should be. The whole finger thing is just a signal to me. And yeah, I'm apparently not live. That's not good at all. Okay, so let's see. I'm recording so the stream's not stable. Now I know that the Rumble bot is working at least. The chat widget. Okay. I guess we'll start with the browser stuff. Let's see. That will be this one. Yes, okay. And it does look like I might actually be live. Oh, I forgot I drew something on the back of my hand. um, let's see if I'm actually live. Ah, my internet connection is extremely slow, apparently. The number of frames I've dropped is dropping. However, it's still over over a third. So, yeah, this is going to be bad. The number hasn't changed, and I continue to have fairly good signal. So, I'm going to risk it without dropping the biscuit. Okay, let's remove the vid cover for a moment. It does look like I'm live. This is unfortunate to say the least. Here, and stretch that out. Stretch that out. That's very weird. Stretch that up. No, we're on the right page. Okay, let's bring up the... Ah, there it is. Okay, so there we go. This isn't the right story. I want to start with this one, actually. And we're going to do some fandom stuff, so we can move that part of the window in. And I think we're good. Okay, put the vid cover back, check it. Yep, we're good. Okay. So, this is from Screen Rant. Robert Downey Jr.'s latest Doctor Doom post makes a major MCU theory look even more likely. Sure. There's always a chance, I suppose. And of course, because none of these services, can manage to actually align their columns properly, I have to move in past this ad so I can actually show you the whole page. That's weird. I'm not even seeing the whole page in my browser. That's a bit better. There we go. Lock that down. Okay, so Robert Downey Jr.'s latest tease about Avengers Doomsday and his impending appearance in the movie as Doctor Doom makes a major MCU movie theory seem even more likely for the film. While more than one MCU actor has played multiple roles in the franchise thus far, Downey, returning as Doctor Doom, is perhaps the biggest and most important example of this concept that we've seen to date. So his Thanksgiving Marvel post makes one Doomsday theory seem even more likely. Well, let's have a look at the post. Hello? Show me the post. You idiot bastards. Here it is. And we'll just completely ignore. Really? Avengers Doomsday with Iron Man and Doctor Doom image. That's on Instagram. Really? You're kidding. This Screen Rant? This is what you think? Let me guess. The theory is superior Iron Man, right? Let me guess. Let's have a look here. Oh, we have a trailer for Doomsday? No, that's not a trailer. That's just a teaser. Okay, screw you, Screen Rant, you friggin' retards. You're even coming off my list. Give me 1 second here while I remove them. Let's see, Screen Rant. There you go. Good fucking bye, you morons. Okay, so from Fandom Pulse, and of course now I have to manipulate my window again, because why would things be sensibly easy? Okay, from Fandom Pulse's book news, and lock that down, there we go. Isaac Young on Dead Men Running and the biggest problem in modern culture. I'm willing to bet he won't actually predict what the biggest problem in modern culture is, but will in fact come up with some cockamamie thing that isn't actually true. But let's find out. Up-and-coming indie author and innovative storyteller, already published 2 things at least. He's also experimenting with an audio drama in The Last Human, also an outspoken critic of our modern culture and famously pushed back against leftist interpretations of Starship Troopers, and recently took to task Trench Crusade. I spoke with Fandom Pulse about his latest novel. New book, what can you tell me about it? I don't really care. I'm more interested in what he thinks is the biggest issue in modern society. Celebrity superheroes. Yeah, because that's never been done before. Okay. Good books. Okay. Control F. There we go. Set in the post-apocalyptic. Low-powered abnormal is the worst of all worlds. Hated by every rung. One more about society. Okay. But there's... Really? Could you be any more saccharine and pointless? Story that meshes 2 genres. Superhero upholds status quo. Most fiction, they are meant to preserve civilization and the power structures. Wanted to look at Superman, Superhuman beyond that scope. Okay. Democratic Union is a disease festering the ruins of a better world. Okay. One more of those, and no bleeding clue. You cannot show me notifications. One more of those, and I will absolutely be pulling Fandom Pulse out of my list of things to look at as well. So, yeah, the title of this should say everything you need it to say. Supergirl and the love that dare not nay its name. If you don't know why, I will open this image in a new tab and show you why this is a problem. This is apparently a set of suitors. She's asking, will she ever find love? And, well, there's a picture of a fucking horse. Yeah. So let's see here. In DC Comics February 2026, Solicits and Solicitations, this Valentine's Day cover has caused a little commotion in certain parts of the net, with Supergirl and a variety of suitors and love interests associated with the character or characters in various forms over the years, from Alexander Luthor to Coral Dox to Comet, or Horse. Because, yes, that was an actual thing. Back in Action Comics number 301 and 311, she got quite involved with one Bronco Bill, who it turns out was her own horse Comet without her knowledge, a centaur who had been transformed into a super horse by Circe. Yeah, yeah. Better than Catherine the Great. Yeah, this is the state of modern comics. I reject all your cookies, Bleeding Pool. So, Faith Escape, stars flee sinking Hollywood. Last month, we commemorated the 8th anniversary of Bleeding Pool. Congratulations, boys. Let me rearrange my window yet again. And that in. There we go. Last month, we commemorated the 8th anniversary of Bleeding Pool. One of the virtues of its longevity, 8 years, dude, is that it allows us to see the rise and looming fall of wokeism in a very accessible format. You actually think they put the woke away. That's cute. We just covered a story where a woman was considering a horse a love interest. Yeah, sure. Let's see. As early as last May, I was wondering if we were seeing the turning of the tide in the culture war. And in fact, we were. No, we weren't. What we're seeing is not so much a turning of a tide as it is an additional um, faction becoming engaged. Well, much has been made of how important Donald Trump's election victory was in the battle against elemental evil. Yeah, okay, sure. How about those Epstein files? I believe that was a lagging indicator of the larger spiritual shift. And let's see, we're going to talk about how there are so many sudden Christians in Hollywood, are we? Enjoy Advent with Gwen Stefani. Don't think I will. Divorce has a funny way of making you less than a great Catholic. Rebuilding a culture of morality. Cynics might question the sincerity of this and other ostensible displays of religion, such as Shia LaBeouf's conversion to Catholicism. Amongst other things, there are many celebrities now trying to sell Jesus. Yeah, they don't care. It's all about the paycheck. You want to talk about a celebrity who actually lives his faith? You talk about Neil McDonough, right? Hollywood has always been packed with hypocrites. Well, it's good that you recognize that finally. But in the old days, the people running it were smart enough to keep it quiet. No, see, I think what happened was in the old days, the people running it weren't quite such large hypocrites, because they simply didn't talk about it, so they didn't have to go, yeah, I'm actually a nice person who does very good things. Please don't look into my closet. Yeah, none of that happened. It was simply, we don't talk about this, because it's no one's business what happens in the bedroom. But about 15, 20 years ago, actually closer to 30 or 40 years ago, it started to be everybody's business what certain people did in the bedroom. Yeah, yeah. None of us cared about the casting couch. The Me Too thing was proof that people who had been on the casting couch had the same feelings as people who had gotten really, really hammered the night before and taken home somebody they normally wouldn't. It's called regret. Yeah, sorry. Um, the problem with regret is you have to live with it. When Christian values were universal. Fucking when? In Hollywood? Really? Metro Goldwyn Mayer? Meyer? Universally Christian. Sure, bud. This happy arrangement collapsed because the degenerates demanded their freedom to sell porn and groom children, and that hasn't worked out very well. You think that's why? Oh man. Oh, you people. Those. It turns out that those oppressive patriarchal Christians may have been prudish and censorial. No, no. Just because you don't talk about it doesn't mean you're not doing it. Okay. Some of the wildest people I've ever met are very Christian, and I only know they're wild because it came out when it shouldn't have. Yeah, yeah. See, there's a difference between being not a prude and being a complete public degenerate. Once we get back to that point where we can go, yeah, don't do this in public, especially around children, then we're starting to get to the point of putting the woke away. Uh, Let's see what we got here. All of which is to say that most people go with the flow. Yeah, no, no, most people don't go with the flow. Why do you think Hollywood was failing for 20 plus years? It's not just because the cinema experience was shit and getting more and more expensive. It was also because people were sick and tired of being preached at by people they knew were secretly degenerates. Yeah. Um, you talk about last May. You're actually a few years late. Ricky Gervais blew a hell of a lid off of things when he did that Golden Globe speech. Yeah, Father Stu. A message from the other 1990s. As much as the 90s was the tipping point of the larger culture and a time when degeneracy became more public, it was also the last hurrah of public morality, particularly in youth culture. Over first, no, not at all. The public morality policing of youth culture continued well into the 2000s. Uh, Eminem immortalized one of the incidents in one of his songs. I think it was The Way I Am, but I'm not 100% sure. When he sang about how Marilyn Manson was being persecuted for what happened in Columbine, and then pointed out rightly, where were the fucking parents at? Yeah. I'm going to your sophomore year in college hanging with the Campus Crusade for Christ. Um, yeah. When push came to shove, I went with St. Augustine. Lord, make me chaste, but not just yet. You don't get. St. Augustine was an asshat. Even irreligious Gen Xers remember those days fondly. No, no, I don't. And I am irreligious. I was an atheist for well over 2 decades. A pagan for about a decade before that. Yeah, no. Simply winding the clock back to 95 won't suffice. No, that's true. Um, it may not be possible to reimpose the Hays Code. You don't need to reimpose a code. See, you simply have to have people who are of like mind pushing against what is against all common sense. For example, preaching um, biological denialism to children should be stopped. Just as much as it was an absolutely retarded idea to tell children that the universe was less than what 5,000 years old, the young Earth creationist thing. Just as that was absolutely retarded, it is absolutely retarded to tell a boy that he can somehow become a girl. And that is the sort of like-mindedness that we need to bring back. That sort of, look, no, I don't care. This is bullshit. Um, one of the horrors, one of horrors, really? Okay. One of the horrors of this inhuman experiment was the emotional blackmail used to make parents comply with what was clearly a purely psychological issue, strongly correlated with the destructive and completely medically ineffective pandemic lockdowns. No, no, no. Do you want a live son or a dead daughter was their catchphrase? Yeah, that had nothing to do with COVID. That was happening well before COVID when it came to the trans stuff. Yeah, and it was more rightly uh, stated. Do you want a live mutant or a dead daughter? Yeah, or sorry, a live victim of mutilation. Let me see. Some may credit this to better research, more long-term data, but that was always out there if one wanted to look for it. It was axiomatic that one does not legitimize delusional behavior. At least the media is finally starting to catch on to this particular thing. Okay, last story, and then I'm going to do some gaming. And of course, I have to muck with the settings here again as well. How to watch the Star Wars movies in order from A New Hope to The Rise of Skywalker. Okay, first off, um, don't watch The Rise of Skywalker. In fact, don't watch anything after Jedi. Anything chronologically after Jedi, except possibly The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. Those are worthwhile. Once you finish Jedi and Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, if you choose to go that far, I would recommend you go into the expanded universe, the stuff that they now call Legends. Go into that stuff. Go read things like Star Wars Legacy, uh, the comics by John Ostrander. Go read the Republic Commando, Imperial Commando series by Kieran Travis. Go read uh, the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn. Go read things like hell, if you really want to, go read Splinter of the Mind's Eye. It's not a great book, and I don't think Alan Dean Foster deserves the hate that he might get for it. But if you want to read that, by all means. But yeah, and as bad as Rise of Skywalker is to canon, so is Splinter of the Mind's Eye, because at the time the canon hadn't been established. So you can kind of be a bit forgiving there. One of the things you absolutely should not miss is Gennady Tartakovsky's 2003 Clone Wars series. There's 2 volumes, and they are absolutely excellent. Excuse me. Okay, let's have a look through this. How to watch the Star Wars movies in order from A New Hope to The Rise of Skywalker. Well, my personal feeling is that you should watch them in release order, in order of release. So start with New Hope to Jedi, jump back to the prequels, and then, you know, then you can jump around a little bit. Rogue One is a good movie, but it's not really a great idea to watch it right before New Hope. My suggestion would be to start with New Hope, go through release order, come back around, and watch Rogue One, and then rewatch the opening of New Hope. Might be a better way to go. With Star Wars, Lucas created a fully realized galactic playground. The fuck he did. It took more than just Lucas to do that, and Filoni and Abrams don't deserve the accolades they get either. But this is Entertainment Weekly. They're obviously going to suck your dicks. Let's see. Tarantino says Hunger Games ripped off a cult classic. I'll have a quick look at that after. Zootopia 2 has been the premiere in Hong Kong. It's because Hong Kong doesn't exist anymore. That's China now. So they suggest you start with Phantom Menace. Well, that's a mistake right off the bat, because if you start at Phantom Menace and you get to New Hope, you're suddenly going to go, wait, why does everything look so dirty all of a sudden? Yeah. Vader was such a towering figure in the imagination of Star Wars fans that anticipation for his origin story was impossibly high. No, no. See, this is the mistake Lucas made, and now a lot of Star Wars fans make. The movie wasn't just about Vader. It was about Vader's family. It's called the Skywalker Saga, not the Anakin Skywalker Saga. Do you understand? You getting it yet? Let me check chat, make sure I haven't missed anybody. I have not. I still appear to be. I'm dropping frames, but not nearly as bad. Anyway, we'll go through this part, and I will stop the recording after this because I'm not going to record me playing an hour-ish of Skyrim before I go over and watch Caucasian Sasquatch and Captain Curmudgeon at the Blast Radius, which is a great thing to do on Sundays. Pop in, I'll say hi to you. Just let me know you're there to see me. Let's see. Practically inevitable that viewers would be disappointed with Phantom Menace. No, actually, I loved The Phantom Menace. And bear in mind, one of my earliest memories is sitting on one of my parents' laps. I was so young I can't remember which, watching Luke get his damn hand cut off in Bespin. Yeah. Uh, Attack of the Clones. Well, yeah, if you're going to start with Phantom Menace, obviously the next thing you watch is Attack of the Clones. What else you got? Clone Wars. Wrong! Don't watch this until you're done everything else, because this is just fill-in. And look, if you want to watch Andor, go ahead. If you want to watch The Acolyte and Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew, of those three, I haven't seen anything. I honestly thought I was watching a clip from Ahsoka when it turned out to be a clip from Andor. I will watch the three of those at some point because I'm a Star Wars geek, but uh, they don't need to be part of the canon. The absolute essential canon is three movies, and that is it. That is all you really need. For example, same thing applies with Lord of the Rings movies. If you watch the first three movies, you're good. If you then want to watch the Hobbit movies, by all means go ahead, but you don't need them for the important part of the canon, the actual story. Everything else added on is an add-on. And I really despised Ahsoka as a character. So, yeah. I did like as the show went on, uh, when it got later. Well, when you get into things like Rebels, Rebels is actually pretty good. Uh, but when you get to the point of stuff like that, then you're at the point where you have to accept, okay, this may or may not be canon. Once Disney bought it, it was clear that they weren't going to respect the canon. So yeah, Solo isn't bad, but again, you shouldn't be watching them in chronological order. Also, I'm very pissed off. There's not even a mention of Tartakovsky's Clone Wars in here. That's a shame. I'm going to have to do Tartakovsky's Clone Wars at some point. O3 Clone, so I remember. I'll end up having to do that as a Monday media review. It won't be this week. I've already got something else picked out and started on. So, some of the characters that came out of the prequels are absolutely amazing. Count Dooku, uh, General Grievous, though he's far more intimidating as a cartoon character, believe it or not. Yeah. There's even a Shaggy ripoff named Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, which I don't think was intentional, but it's so funny. Let me see if I can find it. I think that's how they spelled it. 3 Clone Wars. Excuse me again. Here we go. We're going to have to go to Reddit for it, but yeah. And I apologize for taking you to Reddit with me, but it is what it is. So this guy, Shaggy, that's how it was spelled. I had it spelled wrong. Is this guy's actual name Shaggy, or is this just a joke from the fans? No, the Shaggy thing is actually a joke from the fans, and yeah, this is the proper pronunciation, Shaggy. Um, but it looks very much like the old Shaggy cartoon character. Oh, and that's another great character came out of that Clone Wars series was Asajj Ventress. Let's see who this Darth Sidious really is. Shaggy removes his cloak. Chancellor Palpatine, and I would have gotten away with taking over the Republic too if it weren't for you meddling kids. Yeah, it's a funny thing, and probably a complete coincidence, but it's so good it might as I want it to be canon. Uh, Revenge of the Sith. The single best scene in Revenge of the Sith, in my opinion, is Yoda fighting his way into the Jedi Temple with Obi-Wan. It's the only instance we ever get of an actual Jedi sniper move. If you played, just a second, the game that introduced Jedi sniper. What game was that? Was that the? It wasn't Dark Forces. Okay, let me ask the Brave AI. It should tell me. There we go. What game introduced the Jedi sniper? I believe it's the. Um, okay, let's see. Jedi sniper. Okay, we'll pop this up into the visible browser. Sorry, having some Trouble with my tongue. I probably have to manipulate my window again. No, not too bad. Jedi Sniper was a term used by the Jedi Order to describe one of three. You may not. And I am going to continue using an ad blocker. Thank you. Jedi Sniper was a term used by the Jedi Order to describe one of three Jedi-held ranks in the Coruscant Jedi Temple security force. No, not really. Alongside the Gate Master and the Brutes, snipers were the Temple's first line of defense from troublemakers, zealots, and rioters. Wrong. Uh, Booger off Wikipedia. Let's see. History, rank of Temple snipers dates back. Blah blah. Yeah, this isn't right. Here we are. This was the game. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, the game. This is where the Jedi Sniper was introduced. Also, my favorite Jedi character, uh, uh, Sindralig, named after Nick Gillard, the stunt guy. Loved that character, and he was a badass. Solo, same thing. It's fill in a blank later viewing. Watch the core six, the prequels, and the main. After that, fill in, but definitely go 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and then I would suggest 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, and then review the first scene or two of Episode 4. Yeah, Rogue One's good. Yeah. Actually, my favorite character in Rogue One is not Andor, and it's not this Jyn Erso person who's weird. And no, it's not K2 either. It's Donnie Yen's character, who I can never remember, but I am absolutely certain either a failed Jedi candidate or a Jedi who simply dropped his lightsaber. New Hope, I mean, come on, classic. Empire, classic again. Great character. Uh, you know, barely said a damn word and everybody loved him. There will never not be a time when I want a green lightsaber. And I have two lightsabers behind me. One of which is a Shoto, because I made a custom Shoto. Because in one of the books, Luke uses a Shoto. That's why. Fuck you, Disney, for making the Legends stuff not canon. Just so you could thieve from it for this shit. Yeah. Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, they're all crap. They're worth watching if you're a Star Wars fan. I mean, yes, I love Star Wars for the story. But I also love big effects movies, I love sword fights, and I love straight up hero villain stories. That's all there in those as well. It's just kind of muddled. So yeah, this is not the order that I would watch them in. This is release date. Let's see if there's any conversations here. Really? Nobody? Nobody commented at all? Wow, okay. Let's see what Tarantino says about the Hunger Games. He says it ripped off this controversial cult classic. Oh, Battle Royale. Sorry, I don't think Battle Royale is old enough to be called a classic, but that's me. Let's put the vid cover back. Okay, so that's about a half an hour of me gabbering away. My Rumble is still completely frozen. Let's try this. No, I know that's not going to work. So, I'm going to end the recording here shortly, so I will end with my usual sign-off. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you continue to do okay. Yeah, I know it's not usual. I hope you're doing well. I hope you continue to do well. And as always, rise and rise again until lands become lands. I will see you tomorrow, and maybe I will see you in the blast radius at some point with Caucasian Sasquatch and Captain Curmudgeon. Have a good night. And stop.